Hi, welcome back to the Mandarin Blueprint Podcast, episode 103. Today's grammar point is about another connector or conjunction or 连词, whichever you prefer. And this one is 不是,而是. And it essentially is going to be used when you want to correct a statement, an analysis, a reason, something that was said that was incorrect. You want to say it's not that, it's actually this. And that's what the 而是 does. So it's 不是 this, 而是 this. So it's fairly simple, but it's also very useful. So we won't need too many example sentences. Let's just go with 3 today. So the first one, to explain how this particular structure works, is as follows. 这辆车不是我的，而是他的. Really simple, right? That's actually from level 35 of the Mandarin Blueprint Method. So all this sentence is saying is, this car isn't mine, but his. That's what the 而是 is kind of a but actually his. That's simple, right? And you can just move on to the next sentence. But I just wanted to add a little tip here whilst saying this, because it's a good idea to try and imagine a situation where this sentence is being said. Rather than just reading the sentence in black and white, try and actually imagine a situation, a scenario where this would be being said. So for me, for example, when I read this sentence before doing this podcast, I thought, oh, that reminds me of that scene from Friends where Joey is pretending he has a Porsche and he's like dressed up in the Porsche stuff, and then eventually he has to be like, he doesn't actually say this, but you can imagine him saying, someone kind of like facing him and saying, "Is this really your car?" And he looks at it and he's like, "No, it's not mine. 这辆车不是我的，是他的." And then he gives the keys, right? So that's just an idea. Now, in terms of adding images, like it's really helpful to add images to your flashcards, as you know, but maybe you don't always have time or the effort or the energy, to add images to your sentence flashcards because there's just so many of them. And sentences aren't as vital as characters or words. They're infinite, essentially. So it's not really maybe as worth spending your time on. But if you find a good sentence, it's a good idea to add images to your flashcards. But if you can't be bothered, or you don't have the time, or you don't think it's worth it, that's fine. Just imagine a scenario where it's being said. Just a little extra tip there for you. It will help cement and create more emotional and mnemonic connections to the words being used. So, sentence 2. Let's have a look at this one. 我不是不懂，而是不同意. This is for, if you haven't been learning Chinese for too long, this could be a bit weird to read at first. This sort of structure, the way it's 我不是不懂. I am not understand. I am not. So you could also say 不是不懂, 不是我不懂. You could also flip it around as well. 而是不同意. So it's not that I don't understand, it's that I disagree. Okay, so fairly straightforward. Again, you could try and imagine a situation where that could be being said. So let's move on to sentence 3 now, and this is a line from a famous fairy tale. I say fairy tale, it sounds so nice, doesn't it, and sweet, but actually this is one of those darker fairy tales. This is Little Red Riding Hood. This is the original version, I guess. So you'll see what I mean in a sec. Here's the sentence. 猎人, the hunter, 没有一刀杀了狼. He didn't just kill the wolf with his knife, 而是把狼的肚子切开. So you notice a little difference here. We're using 没有 instead of 不是. And the reason is because it's the past. We're talking about the past, so you can just change 不是 to 没有. But 而是 stays the same. Okay? So 没有一刀杀了狼. He didn't just kill I keep saying lion, I keep thinking lion. He didn't just kill the wolf with one stab with his knife. 而是把狼的肚子切开. He cut open the stomach of the wolf. Pretty grim, pretty brutal, as are the old school European fairy tales there. All right, so I hope that's clear. That one's very clear. That one's very visual. I don't need to remind you to visualize that at all, do I? But yeah, that is how you use 不是,而是. Very simple structure. So go ahead and try that out with your tutor. All right, let's jump into your wonderful emails and comments that we've got from you this week. We're going to start with Sabrina, who sent us an email recently. And she says, "Hi, as you may remember, I cancelled my yearly subscription so that I could take advantage of your lifetime program." Yes, that's something we just did. By the time you hear this, we probably won't be doing it. We're running it till the end of August. So just get in contact at contact@mandarinblueprint.com. If you hear this and it's not yet the 1st of October, 2020, give us a message and we'll give you the link. And you can get lifetime access to everything we do for $399. We've been so amazed about how many people on our course already have cancelled their subscriptions and decided to go with the lifetime option. So go ahead and do it if you still have time and you think that we offer enough value for you to do that, which the people that have been on our course for long enough seem to mostly think. So that we're very humbled by that. This may give you an indication of my opinion already. I love your course. Great. I started your program just a few weeks ago. I have progressed slowly through the pronunciation mastery part as I really want to learn the right way to speak. I really like how you organize units and the overall course. Your videos are good bite-sized chunks that give the necessary information. The repetition of having pronunciation section with Annie at the end of every group helps immensely too. The flashcards are also amazing and really, really helpful. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you, Sabrina. What I really like is how you meticulously go through each sound with clear examples. And if there are any questions, you respond back pretty immediately. I also like that everyone's questions are listed. Several times I have had the same question as someone else, so it's really great to have these addressed as you do. For example, I noticed the difference between ying ending and where it should sound more like than in both Annie's review and the flashcards. Yes, that's because, different regions of China pronounce things slightly differently. Some say ying, some say yung, some say ying. It's slightly different. Not only did you give a written answer, but you also addressed it in more depth in your podcast and video. Yeah, exactly. We love doing that. This is so wonderful. I cannot thank you enough for providing such good information. Well, I'm glad the effort's paying off. It works for you. I'm really looking forward to progressing through your entire course. I believe, based on what I'm experiencing so far, that I will be able to become fluent in Mandarin thanks to you. Thank you so much, Sabrina. You sure will. It's all about consistency and the right method. So thank you, Sabrina. Best of luck. Keep us updated. We love to hear about people's progress on the course. And the next one's by Oliver. It's also an email. And he says, Dear Luke and Phil, although it was necessary for me to take a break learning Chinese, the daily Anki routine is still something never to be missed. That's great news. And that makes it easy for me to pick up where I left off shortly. With the help of the MB method, it was possible for me to acquire HSK 1 level with an excellent score in a very short time. Just using MB, a vocabulary list, and some mock tests for preparation. That's great to hear. I love getting hard data from you guys, which is what our case study emails, blog, interviews, there you go, that we do with a lot of you regularly, really help. They help us get solid feedback, like how much progress did you make, and how much time did it take, and all this sort of stuff. So please, if you've had any, or even if you're not doing an email or any sort of interview with us, just send us an update every now and then. Even if you've never spoken to us before, let us know if you have any breakthroughs of any kind, whether it's passing an HSK using our method, whether it's, you feel like you've gotten to a certain level of fluency or understanding, comprehension, because of the Mandarin Blueprint method. We need to hear that stuff. It's great hearing just general praise and things like that, but it's I would say even better to hear specifics from you. Like, for example, one of my favorite interviews was with Roseanne, from Austria. He finished our entire curriculum, up to the intermediate course, in under 6 months, and he was pretty much zero level. I think he had a little bit of practice with another app or something, but essentially he was an absolute beginner. And he was just, reading. He learned all the characters, and he was reading very well. He hasn't focused too much on speaking at that point, but that was my advice to him, is to start focusing on speaking now. But it was just great to hear he'd in 6 months at about 3 hours a day, between 2 and 3 hours a day on average, he had smashed through the entire curriculum, and he was reading fluently, not speaking fluently yet, but I'm sure he will be very soon. All the other stuff that I bought turned out to be unnecessary. Yeah, Before using the MB method, I tried a couple of other methods, both online and offline, but the holistic approach of your method was the only one that really did work right from the start. That being said, I wanted to take the opportunity to just say thank you. Once circumstances allow, next year and 500 words later, I feel confident traveling to China without being lost. And as we all know, this is just the beginning of a very interesting journey. Thanks again, and best regards from Germany. Oliver. Wonderful. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Keep up with the course, and again, just like with Sabrina, keep us updated. I really want to hear how you get on. And if you need anything, let us know. And also, yeah, don't forget about practicing speaking, because it gets really addictive getting on the course and smashing your way through and learning how to read and your words and sentences and paragraphs, and you're reading Chinese and it's really exciting, and you're even writing stories as well. You can read and write, but you still need to practice that side of things with language exchange partners, tutors and stuff. I've started saying this regularly now on the podcast because I really want to push people to do it. So you don't want to end up with an unbalanced skill set, is what I'm saying. And if you need any, again, specific advice on that, let me know as well. contact@mandarinblueprint.com. Well done, Oliver. Looking forward to hearing from you. Chris Lewis on the Mandarin Blueprint Method overview. So this is right at the beginning of the course. And he says, I loved and resonated with everything that was said in the Rapid Acquisition Crash Course. I've done some traditional learning and some memory techniques and was looking for something exactly like this. Well done, guys. Amazing. I look forward to fluency in less time than I thought possible. Yeah, so if you haven't heard of the Rapid Acquisition Crash Course, it's a free course that you can access if you're not paying us on like a subscription at the moment, or whether you are or not, actually, you can go to our website on the resources section. You can sign up. It's just an hour of content of me and Phil just talking about it's actually my story, how I struggled with Mandarin, and how I went to meet Phil, and how we created the course together, and why, and how what research we based it on. We'll get into all the nitty gritty of language learning. It's actually really useful stuff. And yeah, obviously Chris went on to then purchase the course, so or a subscription rather. So thanks very much, Chris. It's very nice of you to say. Yeah, and I believe you will too. I think, yeah, it's not as hard as it sounds, or as people make out. Corinna on basic Chinese sentence. This is a bonus grammar lesson from me, I believe. Yeah, this is my video. She says, "You guys make grammar fun." Wow, that's quite a feat. I literally lolled when you told us that little anecdote about your tutor sessions at the end, because that would totally be me as well. I was just it took me a while to remember, but I was talking about one of my tutors from the past. She would ask me like, 主谓宾, like the questions about, do you remember, you forgot to add this? And she asked me so many times, and it was so boring that I would just pretend that sorry, I forgot again, when I didn't actually know what the heck she was talking about. And I'm glad Corinna found that funny. I really like these questions, and I really like these sort of, what's the difference between this word and this word? It's fun to think about. I don't want to be annoying at all, but at the end of the day, the best way to know is to go and look up each word and find a bunch of example sentences, and it will click. But sometimes it will click. You don't want to wait for that unconscious click. You want to just click for, get a head start. Click with it consciously, and then go and acquire it later. That's fine. I like doing it too. We all like it. It's fun. So Rick Santos is actually, he's got two in a row, which were quite good. So he says, when do you use 健康 and 身体? Do they mean the same thing when used as a noun? Can 身体 be used as an adjective meaning healthy? So they both mean health, right? So you can say, for example, but you just can't. So for example, yeah. So I just need to give you a bunch of example sentences. That's the only way to explain the difference between words, and it's all based upon my feeling. And the reason why I have that feeling is because I've read and listened a lot, and I've seen them in context. So I can say that you can, and this is what a Chinese person would do too. They would say, well, you can use it this way. 健康, you can say, 我很健康. I'm healthy. I eat well. I exercise and all that stuff. But you can't say 我很身体. You can't say I am 身体, because 身体 is body, right? But it's also used to mean health. So you can say it, but you have to use it in this way. You have to say 你妈妈的身体好吗? Is your mum's health okay? Is she doing all right? But you can't say 她的健康好吗? It's weird, right? You don't say is her health. So 健康 is more healthy, I suppose. And you can say I am very healthy, but so you cannot use, you say I am very 健康, but you can't say I'm very 身体. So no, you can't use it in that way. All right. How do I know all this? I read and I listened. I looked at example sentences. So go and check out. If you get curious about words, please ask us. Because I do, like I said, I find it quite fun. It's like a little puzzle. But the best way is just to read a bunch of example sentences. Okay. Rick also asks, how does 后来 differ from 以后? And the really short answer is this: 后来 means afterwards, and which means it's talking about the past, and 以后 means after, or just in the future in general. Okay. As usual, I've prepared. I'll just go through some example sentences. Right. So here's an example sentence for a couple of example sentences for 以后. So this one says 睡醒以后给我打电话. After you have woken up. So that's a specific event that's going to happen, or that will happen, or is happening, or whatever. 以后, after that specific event, do something else. But you could also just say, in general, this is the future. 她以后不想住在英国. So she afterwards doesn't want to live, or after doesn't want to live in England. So it's just saying her general future is going to be like this. Something in the future will happen or won't happen in general. Okay? Whereas 后来, here's another sentence from the course. 后来我们才知道. So we didn't know until afterwards. 这个男孩早就有女朋友了. So this guy already had a girlfriend. Okay, so afterwards and after. That's pretty much it. This next one is from Karis Scott. I just thought I'd put this one in because it's just something I didn't realize. She asked this question. She said the tongue positions, as in the three sort of, I believe, problem initial positions of the pinyin alphabet, like the pinyin initials, for example, like 知识, 字词, 机器, the tongue up and down. She's like, are they the same as the Welsh alphabet? And I was like, I don't know. Your homework is to figure that out. And she went and she checked, and apparently they are the same. So I have not corroborated this. I've not confirmed this, but if anyone's Welsh out there, you're going to be naturally getting a head start at Chinese. So according to Karis. So that's awesome. Thanks for finding that out for us. So William Beeman on the if, the bonus grammar point all about if, 如果 and 的话. He says, I thought that 如果 and 的话 both meant if. In this sentence, 如果你现在不能打电话的话, they both appear. Is there a special reason for this? No. It's just the full way, I guess you could say. You could see that 如果 and 的话 are like a full structure, or 要是 and 的话, they're all sort of the same. But 如果 by itself is fine, and 的话, just put at the end, also means if. That's fine. And you can also say 如果 and 的话, and it's all the same. Yeah, so it's just longer. And as far as my knowledge goes, like there's not any major difference whatsoever. Okay. William also gave us an insightful comment on our shadowing guide in phase 4. So once you get to a certain level of our course, phase 4, which I believe is level 21. Don't quote me on that, but it's pretty far into the course. And at this point, you're getting good at reading and understanding and even writing if you've been practicing a little bit. And what we suggest is that so your speaking doesn't fall behind, as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, we push you to do a bit of shadowing, which could be one sentence, a paragraph, or an entire story. But basically, you listen and you speak at the same speed and intonation and everything as the speaker. And it does help if you're moving as well. Your blood's pumping. So it's really good to go for a walk, earphones, safely, around a park, maybe even read at the same time, as long as you can see where you're going and you've got a clear path, just walking through it, or just, it's so good for you, and it's so good for your language. It's one of our favorite skills. It takes a lot of energy to do, but it's worth it, right? Anyway, we've said that many times. But William just commented and said, "Thanks for this useful advice. I wanted to second what you are saying. A lot of people think that language learning is primarily cognitive. Some go as far as understanding that you have to exercise and involve vocal apparatus, but language is, in fact, extremely kinesthetic. When we use language, we are always using it in context, and we are using our whole bodies, as I'm doing right now. Not just our brain, our lips, our tongue. We are moving, gesturing, directing our gaze, feeling the environment, and of course, the responses from everyone else that you're talking to, engaging all our senses. Think Proust and his Madeleines." I don't know what that means, but I will look into it. "I should tell you that I am a trained opera singer. My great coaches insisted that when learning our roles, we should be moving as we sing. Body movement tends to concretize the learning. So when you get on stage, you don't forget your long opera roles because your memory is tied to body movement, gesture, and of course, interaction with other performers and the physical stage set. This is just a long way of saying, I think you are suggesting an extremely effective technique that has resonance in many other memorization and routinization learning tasks." Thanks for that, William. I really appreciate that. It's very articulate. And I agree. And I think I can't really overstate the importance of this activity. And it's really cool as well because I believe Moira got in touch recently, and she was like, I'm so busy. I think she works at a hospital. And as you can imagine, it's crazy busy at a lot of hospitals at the moment. And she's like, I do not have the time. I only walk to work. But it's like, you could be shadowing on the way to work. It's a great way of taking advantage of that time you have whilst traveling. So it's just highly efficient. I can't think of a more efficient technique in terms of results. Chris Jensen on Tougher Initials Explanation, he says, this is in the Pronunciation Mastery course. He says, great lesson. The voiced and unvoiced and heavily less aspirated explanations were simple but made a very noticeable difference for me. That's great. Yeah, so if you guys have forgotten, it's all about the B and the D and the P and the T, how to over aspirate a little bit in Chinese for them. Like k, the K as well, the P and the T. It's a lot more air that comes out in Chinese. It's a subtle difference, but yeah, it does help. And the voiced and unvoiced especially, like B, D, G. We don't say it like that in Chinese. It's more like B, D, K. It's more like that beatboxing. That's how I described it. So yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that helped. No one's actually ever said that before about that specific thing, so I'm glad mine and Phil's efforts weren't wasted there. Next one is from Chris Lewis, and he asks, so 只 can be used in different sentences with different tones and sounds. How many characters share this trait? And poor Chris here is discovering the wonders of 多音字 for the first time, which is a bit of a rude awakening for learners. When you're just getting the hang of learning characters, like, hey, I could maybe do this. And then you realize, what? You mean 20% of all common characters have multiple pronunciations with different meanings as well in different contexts? Yes, unfortunately. Hundreds and hundreds of characters. But you get used to it pretty easily, and it's not a big deal. The idea of the hands and movement method is to teach you a basis, teach you one very common, preferably the most common if we can delineate it that way, teach you the most common character pronunciation for each character. And then once you have that grounding, you can read, write, and pronounce this character in this particular way with this particular usage. You can then learn the other pronunciations and meanings that come with that through exposure. And it works fine. Yeah, you can handle it. Some people have gone as far as, for certain characters, making separate scenes, movie scenes, in order to learn the different pronunciations of the same character, which may be well worth it for some people. We didn't have to do that. I didn't. I learned 3,000 characters in 6 months using this method. alongside a few other things that I was doing, and I've never really been bothered that much by it, because most of the time, in fact, eventually all of the time, it's really obvious which pronunciation it is, as long as you understand the context, which is why keep learning characters and words, keep reading, keep listening. Jason Pon, level 16, he says, I love the idea that Jason Pon is getting to the point, level 16, so that's coming up to phase 4 now. He's really starting to get into his groove of reading not just sentences, but longer form content as well. Jason says, I love the idea that all of the previous sentences that we've been acquiring throughout the lessons are building blocks to larger dialogues. A bit of gaming concept of gathering the materials for investment later on. Nifty indeed. Yes, I was pretty happy with that as well. I love that idea of the course. And so for those of you that don't know, of course you learn characters with us. It's all a single linear system. It's all step by step in one pretty much straight line. You learn components and characters, and then eventually you build up enough characters to unlock words, to learn compound words, words of more than one character, and then build up a few of those, and you start to read sentences made up of words and characters you already know, which get more and more familiar as you delve into the course, and then then we start introducing sentences that are part of larger dialogues. So you learn them first as individual sentences, and then once you've learned enough, you've unlocked enough of those sentences, you unlock the paragraph, and then once you've unlocked enough paragraphs, you unlock the story. So it's a single process like that, and that is actually a part of the course that we are focusing on developing right now. We really want that in-depth reward. We want that reward for people that focus on the course and spend a lot of time and effort learning with us. And we want that. We don't want it just sort of. I mean, I love the hands and movement method. Everyone loves it, right? It's really fun and rewarding. But it's I don't want the main draw of the course just to be that kind of party trick where you can learn these characters in how to read, write, and pronounce any character in 30 seconds. It's really cool and fun, but I don't even want that to be the most fun part of the course. I want people to be rewarded for their efforts more and more as they develop their skills, which Jason is doing right now. And that's something we want to do. We want to keep adding more stories. We want to make the earlier sentences and stories even more comprehensible. That means less top-down words, and that's what I want to develop more, and that's what we're doing right now. So we'll keep you updated on that. Jonathan Glazier on level 13 completes it. Jonathan's just going into phase 3, where he's starting to read sentences now. Well, level 13 was great, but it's taken me a while to complete. Yeah, it's kind of this is because the reason why, of course, is that throughout levels 1 to 12, you learn a bunch of words, but you don't have enough words to read yet, to read any sentences. We used to include sentences, but it was too frustrating for people. It's like, well, I only know 2 words out of these 10 words, so it's pointless. So we saved up all of the sentences for the words they learn in levels 1 to 12, and then once they get to level 13, boom, we unlock them all. So you can read all these, or most of them. But it's a lot. It's a lot to take on. It's, he's like, I've just mastered learning characters. Cool. And then poof, you get this big avalanche of reading and listening content. Yes, it was all the sentences, John. That's for sure. I managed to keep reviewing all my other cards every day, but all the sentences got backed up. But today I cleared them, and now I am back on track. It was partly that I got very busy, and it frustrated me that all I was doing was reviewing and didn't do any new lessons. I think it's good to go through these ups and downs because you can work through it and keep up the Anki reviews, so it really gives you the confidence that you will carry on no matter what. So my advice is to do what you can, stick with Anki, and don't worry about progressing all the time. A week of consolidation is no bad thing. This is exactly what I would say. Yes, if you feel you're starting to get behind, don't worry about it. Just get those reviews done every day. That's the key thing. If you don't make any progress for a few days or a week or in a couple of weeks or whatever, that's fine. Just keep those reviews going. great. Thanks for that input, Jonathan. Wonderful. So that's the last comment of this week that we wanted to share with you today on the podcast. So thank you so much for that. And I was going to say, let's jump into the movies, but it's actually not plural. I've only got one movie this week that we're going to read out, which is from Deborah Driscoll for Make a Movie for Yu, which means language. I forget. Yeah, language. That's the keyword we chose. Good. So, and this is great. I saw this. I would never have thought of this myself in a million years, but it's probably one of the best props I've ever seen, which is Johnny 5. Right? The number 5 in Chinese, look at this language. Look at this character for language. Is in the top right, you can see that's the number 5 in Chinese. And someone said it looks like Johnny 5, which is just, for me, I was just so into that film when I was a kid. I watched it so many times. And it does look like Johnny 5 with his little like tire track things, like, you know, like a tank. It's just, I love that prop. So whoever chose that, well done. Maybe it was Deborah, I'm not sure. She says, Johnny 5 is sitting on the heart-shaped couch, that's the mouth component, with a giant microphone in his hand. That's the left side component, the speech component. In trots the unicorn, that's the YU pronunciation. So Johnny 5 decides to interview her. What language do you speak? I speak unicorn, of course, she replies. Unicorn, he asks. What kind of language is that? That's not even a real language. Indignant, the unicorn walks off, muttering curses in her unicorn language. I don't know why, but I'm imagining that to be like Dothraki. But well done, Deborah. That's a really great story. Because it's really hard to visualize language. But I think that you've said the word so much, it could work. And you've got the idea of like him not understanding her. Like they're trying to speak. He's like, what kind of language is that? Maybe if she was like trying to have a conversation with him in unicorn, that would be a little bit clearer. But either way, it's like, or maybe as she speaks, like actual like rainbow colored like words come out and start hitting Johnny in the face. That's unicorn language. Just the reason why I'm saying this, this scene looks like it would be really fine. It looks like it would work. I'm just saying I always like to try, even if it's a bit awkward or maybe it's not going to work long term, but I like to try and add in a visual representation of the keyword in every single scene. Even if it's difficult, it's an abstract keyword, just try. And I think that would work pretty well, actually. That was off the top of my head, but I'm pretty proud of that one. All right, so thank you, Deborah, for that great movie scene. Well done. And thank you, everyone, for your great comments. As usual, just very impressive, just awesome. Very feel-good, positive stuff. So thank you for that. And if you've watched this podcast or listened to this podcast all the way through and you haven't yet signed up to our course, give it a shot. You know, we have a 7-day free trial, 30-day money-back guarantee. And it works really well. So what a great salesman I am. So yeah, check it out. Leave us a review on Google and Facebook. That helps us so much, guys. If you haven't already done that, please do so. And I will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.